Drum triggers are small electronic devices that can be attached to the drum, sometimes on the rim, sometimes inside the drum shell. What they all have in common is that there's a piezo sensor inside of them, which makes contact with the drum head via a foam cone or a cylinder. This allows them to sense it when the drum is being hit, and when they do, they send a signal out through a cable that you plug into them. Now, you can do whatever you want with that signal. It's really just a yes, a one, a way of the trigger saying, I sense something happened. Of course, they can sense the velocity of the hit too. I'm just trying to keep things simple here. So for now, let's just compare them to a simple button. They don't do anything unless they are pressed. The drum is being hit, and when that happens, they fire off a short signal. The most known use of this signal is to trigger a sample. The sample can be anything really. For example, you can set an electronic drum sound or some kind of sound effect if your music needs that. Or you can set it to play a nicer acoustic drum sound than your drum set might be able to produce. This way, the need to use microphones on your drum set can be eliminated entirely if you have enough triggers. Of course, the cymbals would still have to be mic'd up. Or triggers can be used with microphones in conjunction for all sorts of reasons. Maybe the microphones aren't able to pick up the full sound you're looking for. Maybe they capture the low-end frequencies of your drums really well, but there's not enough attack in the sound. In this case, you can use the trigger to fire off a sample that has a lot of that sharp snap. And by blending that sound with the sound coming from the microphones, you can get that full, rich sound you're looking for. But there are other uses for triggers too. You can also use that signal to fire off lights or other kinds of visual effects instead of a sample during a live show, for example. And well, I don't think this part needs much of an explanation. You can get real creative with it. Speaking of creative uses, lastly, you can also see triggers being used alongside with microphones for another reason too, which is that they might be controlling noise gates on the microphones. When a microphone is gated, you can set it to only let through sounds that are above a certain volume level. This is a really handy tool to eliminate unwanted sounds to bleed into microphones that aren't supposed to pick up those sounds. Such as, for example, cymbals bleeding into the tom mics. Eliminating this bleed results in a much cleaner, nicer sounding mix overall. Now you can use a gate controlled entirely by the microphone output too. In fact, this is the more common practice. But this way sometimes misfires can happen and the gate might open up even when you don't want it to. Having a trigger do the job just means you get a much more precise signal for the gate to open up. And these were the main uses for triggers. In reality, it's easiest to just think of them as sensors on your drums that know when the drum they are placed on is hit. And from there you can do almost anything with that signal they send. You can get creative with it. One more thing. At the beginning I said that triggers are always making contact with the drum heads. Now that's only partially true because there are some rarer examples I just wanted to include for your knowledge. Some triggers specifically made to be used on kick drums are placed directly on the kick drum pedal. I just wanted to mention these briefly, but the principle is the same as for the traditional triggers. They sense it when a hit happens and they send out a signal. The only difference being is that they are attached to the base plate under the pedal board or on the post with a little hammer on the shaft. So when the drummer pushes the pedal down, it makes contact and that's when it fires. These are always set so that the contact happens at the exact same time when the kick drum beater reaches the drum head, so the result is virtually the same. That's it for today, but there will be a follow-up video on this topic where I'll talk about concerns regarding people exploiting drum triggers and telling you my views and thoughts sparked by online discussions, alongside with comments I haven't seen anyone making before. Until then, may the kind-hearted hedgehog be with you on your journey.